Hello everyone and welcome to a Vampire the Masquerade lore dive into Clan Gangrel. With Bloodlines 2 being released, I wanted to talk about the clans we can play and see in-game first before delving deeper into the other clans. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts and opinions, and of course, if I miss anything, feel free to comment down below. Ferals, animals, beasts. The Clan of the Beast hold the wilderness to a much higher regard than the more city-bound vampires. They are closer to the more animalistic aspects of the beast within them, more preferring of solitude and freedom than to society and more organized norms. Due to the solitude, they tend to be extremely territorial and possessive, and to enter a Gangrel's territory unknowingly is certain death. They're renowned as fierce warriors, but to get a Gangrel to agree to work with others, even with other Gangrel, can be more than difficult. It can be downright impossible. Status in general among the Gangrel is earned and decided mostly by rights, and these rights involve either combat or boasting. Combat being straightforward by being basic, and unarmed, either by just sparring between Gangrel who know one another, or with strangers to the point of incapacitating or surrender. Boasting, however, involves two Gangrel making large claims until one backs down or demands proof of these claims. Once challenged, the Gangrel must show proof or lose the right and thus their status. The Gangrel disciplines are animalism, a power granting them communication or dominance over creatures of nature; fortitude, a power granting supernatural toughness; and protean, a power that grants the ability to change form. These disciplines allow the Gangrel to be quite formidable, with the use of creatures from nature to assist them in either scouting or fighting alongside them, and with fortitude buffing their durability, and protean turning them into the animal they are on the inside by providing them claws. To face a Gangrel in combat, especially on their turf, is a death sentence without a plan. The Gangrel antediluvian is Anoia, and according to legend is a child of Lilith who was embraced before the Great Flood. The name Anoia means the female half of God, and the story goes that she was abandoned by her mother Lilith to a pack of wolves. The animals raised her to become a great predator, and Anoia took a mate from the pack and bore him children. Thus the first werewolves were born. Afterwards, eventually Anoia would leave the wolves and travel to Enoch, where she would then be embraced, becoming the Gangrel antediluvian. Of course, though, many stories are told and shared but fractured due to the nature of Clan Gangrel themselves, making these stories hard to prove or disprove either way. Some Toreador scholars have a version of the myth in which Anoia was a male figure and went by the name of Enkidu. The mystery of the antediluvians make the history of any clan difficult to trace back, but a clan that isolates themselves and sticks mostly to oral history makes tracing of their histories even more difficult than usual. Gangrel suffer from the clan bane of bestial features, and once in a frenzy, a Gangrel will gain one or more animalistic features, be it physical, smell, or behavioral tick. Alternatively, within the tabletop, they can choose the Bane survival instincts, allowing the Gangrel to be hypervigilant to dangers they may not be quite able to win against, causing them to have a harder time to resist a fear frenzy. The Gangrel compulsion is feral impulses, which has the Gangrel return to a more animalistic state, so much so that speech becomes difficult, clothes are unbearable and restraining, and disputes are best solved through means of strength rather than words. Those that are embraced by a Gangrel are those that have a will for survival. If a Gangrel feeds off of a mortal and that mortal fights back, then they may be rewarded by being embraced rather than just cattle. This method for choosing who gets embraced produces Gangrel with that same fierce desire to survive, even if they are lacking in the means of doing so. Others that could be deemed desirable to embrace would be those who risk the darkness, those who would openly explore or travel at night without fear, unlike most who generally turn in and avoid nighttime activities for their own safety. Those traveling at night, though, are usually watched and stalked, determined if they are in fact traversing the darkness or stumbling in the dark. Cowardice is in fact punished by the Gangrel, and the lost lamb will generally be feasted upon by the wolves. Insults or threats are no different. If a mortal threatens a Gangrel, it usually ends bad with them, as they are embraced but in the worst possible way. The process is made painful and filled with terror, as they are left behind to assure their destruction, though this has recently fallen out of style aside from a select few. Overall though, a choice of being embraced is never on the table, as the sires before them never had a choice, and those who did are usually seen as inferior, even if they survive. Though not deemed an outcast, they are rarely given respect, even if they succeed after a rite of status. Many tales are told of the history of the Gangrel, having a mostly oral recording of their histories, and make exact depiction of their early history quite difficult, though it seems certain that the Gangrel were always those of wanderers, following nomadic tribes and sleeping beneath the soil to escape from the sun. Many Gangrel tell of the myth of Cain and how Anoia was cast out due to the betrayal of the Ravnos antediluvian, who has gone by many names of Ravnos, Drakian, Ravana, and many more. After this betrayal though, Anoia was forced to live with the beasts, which is where many tales begin to form. The Gangrel of Scandinavia tell tales of being cursed by Odin, while others say that Anoia and her twin brother Churka were demigods that warred against each other. Of course, as previously mentioned, some believe Anoia to have birthed the first werewolves before being a vampire, and thus bringing about the birth of the Gangrel clan. Many of the clans sadly do not know or even care about the creation myths of their kind and survive only in the present. However, what is known is that they shunned civilization and were deemed in early history as evil spirits that were meant to be appeased. Due to this disdain of cities and civilization, they had nothing to do with the building of the Roman Empire, but would occasionally poke their nose around to catch any young vampires off guard. If any Gangrel were in the cities, it was mostly as slaves of the Romans, and Gangrel fought on both sides of the Punic Wars between the Roman Republic and Carthage, though many flocked to the Ventru. In Scandinavia, the Gangrel Methuselah, known as Odin the All-High, held the Nordic peoples within a tight grip as he effectively ruled as a corporeal god, and would send mortals on raids of those he despised to earn the right to be embraced. Later on in history, some Gangrel were experimenting with expansionism and traveled to far-off lands to conquer, explore, or trade. As the fall of paganism ensued, many Gangrel had difficulty posing as normal humans with their many growing abnormalities, and instead had to stick to the countryside and would soon ally themselves to the Tzimisce against the Tremere in the Omen War. With the Renaissance and the loss of woodlands, it caused a complicated unlife for Clan Gangrel. The further decline of pagan religions along with the Masquerade made hunting even more difficult for them without drawing notice, and caused many Gangrel to leave the Camarilla and Europe completely and search for untouched wilderness or receding into what few tribal societies that still existed. The rapid growth of the Victorian Age, along with technology, did not change the Gangrel's attitude towards cities and towns, as they soon became industrial centers almost overnight, along with the added problem of the growth of religious influence and by proxy those possessing true faith. It made the Gangrel even more disgusted to be around these places. Only the scholar and theology debater Beckett was known to have any regular dealings with what is now the norm of vampire society, as during this period most others of Clan Gangrel tended to avoid this boom of human ingenuity and religious fervor altogether. Now within the modern Knights though, some Gangrel had joined the Camarilla, mostly as a means of survival, as it's clear human advancement wasn't going to stop. It's rumored that recently they have withdrawn from it, though the reasons are unknown. It's rumored that Justicar Xavier, the last Justicar of Clan Gangrel in 1999, went before the inner circle, uttered a single sentence and left. Word then spread through the clan, and over the course of a month or so, the majority of the clan abandoned the Camarilla and became entirely independent. Though the sentence he said is not known, the reason for his and his clan's departure are. For Xavier led a war party of Gangrel in an assault on a creature, that of the Eye of Hazamel, what's believed to be a lost relic to be part of the powerful Ravnos Methuselah Hazamel. and once was Leopold, the Toreador sculptor who morphed into a gargantuan sculpture of flesh and bone. Xavier, after fighting it and losing many Gangrel, was confident that the antediluvian myths were true, and that some may still walk among other vampires, and brought this concern to the Camarilla, who rebuffed him, repeatedly saying that they were legends, and thus Xavier and his clan left. The Gangrel are a strong clan built on the strength of beasts and survival. With this strength, though, the need to adapt is demanded as cities spread wider among the world. Technology spreading like wildfire, and that wildfire is burning down any woodland sanctuary the Gangrel could call home. Now the only jungles they have are made of steel and concrete, trees of wires and electricity, with the hum of nature replaced with only the sound of cars, motors, and machinery. I'd be curious to hear what interests you in the Gangrel, either in Bloodlines or any other game to even the tabletop. Is it that call of the wild and the ability to release the inner beast on an unsuspecting victim? Or perhaps their will of survival and ability to overcome as a clan built on nature, though is now forced to live within the cities they once despised? Let me know down in the comments. That is all that I have for now, but in the meantime, let me know your thoughts, as I'd love to hear them. Let me know if I missed any details, and don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe to stay up to date on future videos, some being Let's Plays, some being these lore, theory, and discussion videos that will be posted at least once a week. Don't be afraid to let me know some other subjects you'd be interested in either, and hopefully see you all in the next video. See you then.